Alright, back again. Been sitting here thinking, recently I've been thinking a lot about the trail and, giving back, making some videos. It was something that I had intended to do from the start. Um, it was actually Early Riser 71, I think was his YouTube channel. Um, he was, if you watch my very first video that I posted, I mentioned that he kind of kicked me in the ass to kind of give me a jump to make a video. So I ended up making a video while I was in my tent checking my gear in my backyard, just kind of familiarizing myself with everything. And I didn't plan on doing that at that point in time, but I did it anyway, because he put me in. He sort of made a collaboration type video where he got all the links from 2018 potential 2018 through hikers, long distance hikers. I'll say long distance hiker because I actually didn't finish the trail, but I don't want that to steer anybody away from my videos because I did hike about 1,570 miles. I got off in Dalton, Massachusetts, just before about 100, 150 miles before the White Mountains. I regret that for sure. That I regret. I would have liked to at least got through the Whites because that was where the terrain was about to change. Any through hiker knows. Anybody that's hiked the AT knows what I'm talking about. When you're going through Pennsylvania and New York and New Jersey, um, coming up through Massachusetts, you're dealing with a lot of very low elevation and you're dealing with a lot more water and mud than you normally would deal with. And it was even worse for me for my year because the rain was torrential. I mean, the rain was out of the world, out of this world. As far as, I mean, you were just constantly wet, constantly chafing, socks wet, shoes wet, feet wet. It was just you wake up wet, you go to sleep wet, and it got to the point where it became normal. But but yeah, so he made like a sort of a collaboration so that people that were watching videos like these, people like me at the time who were planning a through hike, that were interested in finding other through hikers and looking for advice. It was a way for him to bring everybody into one spot so you could find everybody. I can't remember exactly, but it was a clever way to do it, and it was just his way of passing on the knowledge. So tip of the hat to Early Riser. Um, much respect for him and his ability to hike the trail in like 101 days or 110 days, something like that. I mean, this dude. I'm assuming 71. The number 71 is probably his date of birth, which puts him at about 47, 46 when he hiked the trail. He obviously was, I think he was ex-military the way he talked, and he was obviously somebody that took care of himself, which I don't. I mean, I'm a glutton. I'm an idiot. Drink, smoke, eat junk. You know, um, that's just my preference. But he obviously took care of himself because he was knocking out like 30, 35-mile days, I do believe. I mean, you have to be able to hike the trail in like 3.5 months. That's, I don't want to say that's unheard of, but for somebody that's not a marathon type like runner or somebody that does that on a regular basis, from what I understand, this dude was just a dude. He's just another dude. It just so happened that he had the mentality, the mindset, and the ability, the physical ability to be able to hike the trail the way he did. So my hat's off to him. But but yeah, I wanted to make this video just talking about the water treatment because I can't actually. What I should say is I'll talk more about the water sources because you're gonna watch videos that people will break down. You can watch following Bigfoot. You can watch Darwin on the Trail. You can watch Dixie, Homemade Wanderlust. There's great, Early Riser. There's great channels out there that are probably far better than mine. where they'll actually break down different types of systems. They'll break down tents, sleeping systems, they'll break down filtration systems, all that. I can't talk about that because I mainly stuck with Aquamir. So what I would talk about, I did use Sawyer. I used the Sawyer Squeeze, Sawyer Mini, whatever the hell. Yeah, no, it wasn't a Mini. I used the regular Sawyer, and twice, and it failed on me twice. And I didn't. It was the gasket. It was an internal O-ring that kept failing, and I wasn't over tightening it. The first time I thought it was human error. I was like, okay, this must be human error. I must have did something wrong. So I bought another one, and I bought it at Mountain Crossing, just on the other side of Blood Mountain. So it was $40 instead of like 20 that you could get, or $60 instead of 30. It was, I can't remember the price, but it was twice. I remember it being twice as expensive as what you would pay in a Walmart. And within a week it was failed. That the second Sawyer filter failed on me, and I knew it wasn't human error. I made a point to only tighten it as necessary as I needed to. I made a point to keep it in my sleeping bag, in my pocket, make sure it didn't freeze, anything like that. But it was the O-ring that kept failing, and it would end up leaking as I was tipping it back, drinking. Water was basically like running down the outside of the filter and running into my mouth. Untreated water that was mixing in with treated water. So I was like, you know what? I had Aquamir. I carried that as a backup initially, but then I decided I'm just going to go with Aquamir. Aquamir is fail safe. It's idiot proof for the most part. It calls for 7. It's a 2-part system, A and B. Clearly labeled, can't go wrong. You put 7 drops of A into the cap, and then you put 7 drops of B into the cap. 7 drops per liter. I only put 5, and then further up on the trail I started to go at 4. And I never got sick. Never had any kind of stomach issues or anything like that. You know, diarrhea, you know, unsettled stomach, anything like that. Never had a problem. So you can basically double if you do the research and it says, you know, a container of Aquamir 2-part system will last a month. You can probably say it'll last damn near 2 if you just cut the dosage in half. You put the 5 drops in, A, B, and then you wait 5 minutes. And then you dump that into your water, and then you wait like 15-20 minutes or something, and then the water is drinkable. There was people that had gravity filters. There were people with pumps. There were people with a lot of stuff like that, and you would hear different reasons for a lot of people. Like one person was like, I was talking to him about how I used Aquamir, and he was like, yeah, well, I like to use the pump system because it doesn't contaminate the water source. I don't have to put my hands in, and it's one of them guys where, to be honest, I just wanted to frickin' smack him, It's like, really? You're contaminating it? Nobody's drinking this water untreated. Why is my hand putting a bottle into a water source isn't contaminating it any worse than it's either already contaminated or it's fresh. Plus, you're not drinking it straight anyway. You're using some sort of a filter or chemical treatment system. Some people use bleach. Some people use the Aquamir. Some people use iodine. But you're not going to drink. It's not like you're just going to tip your face into a freaking stream and just start drinking out of it. It's just a ridiculous thing. Some people get a little bit carried away with that type of mentality. Like, oh, I got this because this way, you don't have to worry about contaminating the water source. It's like, well, I'm already assuming that the water source is contaminated. Otherwise, I wouldn't be treating it with a chemical treatment. So it doesn't matter. But the thing with Aquamir that was nice is, for one, you hear people say that you can taste it. I couldn't. I never tasted it. Some people say it has like a chlorine taste. Never tasted it. Water tasted like water. If it tasted funky, it wasn't because of the Aquamir, I can tell you that. It was because of, extra runoff and things like that. You know, that's where all the tannins and the yellow water would come in that I was talking about in a previous video. It weighs less. It's something that you can keep in a pocket, which so you don't have to keep it in a tent. I mean, in your pack, which is actually, you don't think that would matter, but it does. You want to keep stuff out of your pack. If you can take some stuff out of your pack and put it around your belt or in your pockets, you're taking weight that your back and your entire body is gonna have to carry, and you're shifting it a little bit so that your entire body is carrying the weight, not just one part of your body. So the Aquamir comes in handy because I could keep it in my cargo pants pocket rather than keeping it in my pack. One less thing that my back has to carry. So I would say to go with that. And the reason why I would say to do that is because of how you get water. Down south, you get a lot of pipe springs. Basically, you're looking at like half-inch PVC pipes that the conservation groups they find springs and streams, and they run a PVC pipe out of it, and then so you got the water coming out like this cigarette. The water be coming out of the front of the pipe, so it gives you an ability to just put your bottle right up to it. You can't do that with a filter. You can't do it with a pump. You can't do it with like a pump type filter. You can only do it if you have just a bottle, and like, you know, so you can use a Sawyer, you can fill it up and then put the Sawyer squeeze on, drink straight through it, however you want to do it. Up north, you're not going to have that option. Up north, you're dealing with a lot more shallow, fast flowing streams. So it is harder to get water that isn't full of turbidity or debris, but it's not impossible. You just point the opening of the bottle, point it downstream. That way it'll still fill up with water, but it won't get debris in it because you're facing the top of the bottle downstream rather than upstream where all the debris is going to go in it. It's not a big deal. So I personally, I love the Aquamir. Yes, it takes a little bit longer to purify and things like that, but at the end of the day, you can use that opportunity when you get to a water source to take a break. You can stop and smoke a cigarette. If you're a smoker, you can stop and smoke a bowl. You know, if you like to smoke weed, you can stop and smoke a bowl while you're giving the water or the treatment 5 minutes to do its thing before putting it in your water. You should never run out of water. I carried water heavy. I mean, like I usually had at least 2 liters on me at all times, sometimes upwards to 3 to almost 4 liters of water. You're going to hear people say you don't have to, and they're 100% right. You don't have to. But it's one of those things where the way my brain works, my state of mind, my mentality, it's the same reason why I put on a seatbelt when I drive. It's not because I think I'm going to get in an accident. It's because the ease of which it takes to put on a seatbelt it's so easy that it's not worth what would happen if I got in an accident and wasn't wearing a seatbelt. It's the same thing with water. Yeah, you're definitely going to be adding some weight. You're adding about 2 pounds per liter, and that does, trust me, it does weigh up. I got rid of a lot of shit on my trail, things on my hike that I didn't think I was going to get rid of. But you really start looking at ounces and grams and pounds, and you shed weight whatever way you can. But water is not the thing that you want to do without. It's just not. Carry it. You can always get rid of it, but you can't just get it out of thin air. If you want water, you want to be drinking water, even if you're not feeling thirsty, even if you're not feeling dehydrated, you should still be drinking water. You should be drinking water pretty much constantly, once, especially depending on the terrain or the time of year. So don't, the Aquamir is it's an easy thing to carry. You could probably bring a Sawyer with you and use it as a backup in case you left your Aquamir behind or you lost it or something like that. You should always, I believe in having redundancies for everything. So I would have Aquamir, and then I would also have another way to filter or clean my water in one way or another. But yeah, I would go with the Aquamir just because it works in any situation. You don't have to, the weight, when you get a pump, it's just more weight. And for what? to get water, you don't need it. And a pump comes in handy when it's a small water source, like a puddle that's kind of like standing water. Yeah, then it comes in handy. But it's very, very rare that you come across a water source like that. Most water sources are fast-flowing water sources. And Aquamir can't fail. There's no moving parts. Any other filter can fail. A pump can fail. Aquamir cannot fail other than if you lose the liquid, or if you get a hole in the container and it all drips out. It's a 100% fail safe or foolproof way to purify water, and it weighs nothing. The downsides, you're going to have pros and cons of every system, but the downsides of Aquamir the upsides are far outweighed by the downsides. I personally would go with Aquamir, because it's very rare that you're going to come to a water source and be so dehydrated that you can't wait 15 minutes or a half hour, however long you have to wait for it to do its thing before you can drink the water. You're going to have a separate container. You're probably going to have water that you can drink while waiting on the Aquamir to do its thing. But yeah, I would go with Aquamir. Like I said, I can't speak on the pumps and the gravity pumps and the filters and things like that so much. I can speak on the Sawyer because it failed me twice, but that's it. And I actually heard there was a few people that I had talked about with that. Some people use the UV, the Steripen. I can't speak on that. I can only speak on what I used. And I loved Aquamir. It never failed me. I used half the dosage, never got sick. I mean, it worked great. So, take it or leave it. But yeah, don't let anybody else change your mind. There was some douchebag on the trail. I would run into him at shelters, and I'd hear him talking about his system. He'd be like, "Oh, you need the Sawyer." He would be talking to some other guy. There was one guy using a Steripen. He's like, "Oh man, you don't want to use that. You need to get the Sawyer, man. This thing protects against bacteria, protozoa, parasites, viruses. The Steripen doesn't do that. Just blah 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 blah." It's like, shut the fuck up. Like don't shit on somebody else. Like everybody out there. We did our research. Don't shit on me. I know what the fuck I chose. I got my reasons for choosing it. Maybe my money situation made me pick something that was different than what you picked. Maybe I've already used it. Maybe I've already hiked a long distance trail. It's like, you don't know. You don't know anything about, the next person, and they don't know anything about you. You trust in your shit and make it work for you. You can take advice from other people if you want, but that's one thing. Do not shit on other people. Don't be what they would call what do they call it? A gear snob. Where it's like, don't be that person where, oh, you got North Face? You need Marmot. Oh, you got Marmot? You need this. Oh, you got a Lightheart? You should have Z-Packs. If you come out on the AT or any other long distance trail and you didn't do your research, you deserve to have your shit fail. That's why nobody goes out there and doesn't know better. Because we do our research. Do yours. And stand by your decisions, and don't let anybody else jam you up or make you doubt what you have. Because you know what works for you. They don't know you. If somebody starts that gear snobbery shit, handle it however you want. I'd just be like, hey, man, whatever works for you. This works for me, man. Good looking, but this works. Don't worry about me. I got this. And then call it a day. But yeah, that gets aggravating for sure. When people want to act like they know better than you do. Meanwhile, they're at the same location on the trail as you are. They've hiked the same amount of miles as you have. It's like, what makes you think you're better than me? What makes you think you know more than me? You don't know what I researched. You don't know where I come from. You don't know my finances. It's like, just, if it works for you, it works for you. What I have works for me. But Aquamir worked for me. So, yeah, that's it. See you.